Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Cool. So I don't know if this is going to be useful because the bug that happened is kind of one that a line debugger doesn't identify, but maybe it'll be a useful tool. So I went and collected 3 different YAM transactions. I found a stake, I found the published governance proposal, the transaction hash that was announced on Twitter right before the other bug was found, and then a recent rebase. And so let's debug the rebase. So what's happening here is the -x flag means that it tells the debugger, Truffle's debugger, to go to Etherscan and fetch all external contracts, all the verified contracts. So this is actually an empty Truffle project. If I look at the Truffle config, all I'm doing is I'm connecting to a forked ganache, and this is the YAM protocol's start blockchain script, right? So I'm running that in one project, but now I just have this empty Truffle project that I'm using.
Sorry, did you say start YAM protocol start block, right? So
start blockchain. I may have modified it slightly.
So what is that? When the contract was deployed, or what is the start block?
Start blockchain is their script. Yeah, so Ganache has a forking feature where you can give it an endpoint and it will start the internal Ganache blockchain based on the fork. So any new transactions go to Ganache, but anything you want to look up from before that point is read from the underlying. So they have this script automatically set up in their project. We can take a look at what that looks like if it's helpful. Basically, there's the -- fork option, and then they configure other things, and they use this for their own testing, right? Because if you're going to be building a contract like YAM, or a set of contracts like YAM, you're going to want to have the live state of the network, you know, for all of the other, like for all of the Wi-Fi underlying and all of that. So that's what they provided. I modified it just to be more verbose.
I don't know if it's just me. I can't really see the bottom. Can you make the terminal higher?
I can make the font bigger. Would that help?
It's just like on the bottom. I can't really see it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's.
And I'll do that in the other window as well. Sure, so I have the forked Ganache running, and now I'm going to do truffle debug -x. I'll just do that rebase transaction. And this is going to take a minute. So you can see that we're issuing requests to this forked Ganache. And what it is doing is it's compiling all the local contracts. Then it's going to Etherscan to fetch all of the verified contracts. Fortunately, YAM protocol has verified all their contracts on Etherscan. It'll then do another recompilation because we need the bytecode and the AST and all of that. And we actually match the Solidity version. So even if your local project has one Solidity version, the contracts that you're debugging might be a different Solidity version, and that's just fine. And so now it's gathering the information about the trace, right? It replays the transaction, collecting information that it needs. For instance, it keeps track of all of the contracts that you've interacted with. So in this rebase transaction, the transaction interacts with Uniswap, and interacts with the delegate, some unknown contract, and of course the rebaser contract itself, which is what we're going to be debugging. So I just start stepping into this. This is it's a regular command line debugger. There are commands for stepping over, step next, step into, step out. You can step individual EVM instructions. You can print some state information. Right now we don't really have anything. We're nothing on the stack. And you can also look at all of the variables that are currently in scope.
But you're looking at real state, right?
Yes,
not?
This is the real state at the beginning of the rebase transaction that happened 6 hours ago.
But you can move back and forward too, right?
Right. So I'm stepping through this individual transaction, right? And you can see, and I'll pull this up. right? So we're inside the rebaser. We require that message.sender is the origin. We can step over these lines. We can look in, you know, and it's going through in this in rebase window, which is defined here. Step into that. We can look, well, we can even inspect an individual variable. So this might be slow because it doesn't read the variable until the S load happens on the EVM. So once the S load happens, then we have that information. You can see all of the variables. But where are we? We're right here. We'll just step over these require statements.
For those who don't know S-load, that's the one to put the things from the storage, right? I put a button.
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know what the familiarity is with everyone here.
I figured it out. I heard about S-load before, but yeah, but this helped. Thanks also.
Yeah, so I mean, you can see what's happening if you semicolon steps individual EVM instructions. So like right now we're on a jump desk, then we go into a timestamp, right? Because what are we doing? We're making sure that the current timestamp is, you know, greater than the last rebase timestamp plus all of that, right? So if I keep stepping, N means step next, it steps individual solidity ranges. So we're on this solidity range, I step next, we go to this solidity range, step next. And this is all information that the compiler tells us. But I'll just step over. Where are we? So there's all this math. Where are we? Oh, the line numbers don't line up because Etherscan, the contracts are flattened. So it's all one big contract. That's why it's line 1078, but here I'm only on line 716. But we can see, okay, what's last rebase timestamp? So you can kind of use this to investigate what's going wrong, assuming the bug in question is visible this way. Yes.
So now we're looking at the last, where in time are we exactly now on the 6 hours?
So this was 6 hours ago.
Can you move this like 12 hours ago easily or not?
With Ganache, well, I could, this transaction is 6 hours ago, right? So I could do 6 hours plus 12. I could find the rebase from 18 hours ago.
It just the contract state at any point in this now parameter. It's doable, right? In theory.
Right, yeah.
But, okay.
This debugger is specifically, it just analyzes a trace. So any transaction that happened in the past, you can step through that transaction deterministically. And so that's all we're doing. So I can't go and I can't add to now. That's
yeah, of course. Okay.
But I can look at, okay, now.
But how did you arrive at this? Okay, because it's actually, as it's syncing, it's, okay, the last state is, this is current. Okay.
This is what was current when this transaction happened. And Ganache knows that because Ganache gets the block timestamp.
Okay.
And so I remember that Tim showed a fast of this kind of thing using the actual DAO hack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the debugger is doing is when it starts up, it looks at the block and figures out what the block timestamp was, and that's how it populates that variable. And it does that technique for a number of these, right? You have message, you have transaction, you have block, and all of these things are computed because Ganache knows that. And it's all what was true at the time of that transaction.
Can you do it for the reverted transaction, like failed transaction?
If someone can give me a failed transaction, or I could probably find one if I look at the rebase contract. Give me 1 sec.
Can we open some hack MD? If we find this hash now, can we save it or?
Yeah, sure.
Or later, maybe from the screenshot video.
Yeah, I'll put these notes in. Let me just find that. I'm looking in another window. I apologize. So I'm just grabbing a failed transaction. This is a recent failed rebase. I don't know why it failed. Maybe we'll figure that out.
So the transaction failed. Actually, it's not that it just calculated wrongly. The transaction failed.
This transaction, if I look at Etherscan, I'll put this in the doc. Where do you want it? Etherscan link. Sure. So if you look at Etherscan, you'll see it reverted. This wasn't an out of gas. This wasn't anything like that. Something went wrong. So hopefully that will be clear.
Okay, that's good.
And maybe at this point, since things have been going so well, I should note that the debugger does not support Solidity when you turn the optimizer on. And everyone in their right mind turns the optimizer on now on mainnet because of the price of gas. So what I have observed is that the result of this is that sometimes the debugger doesn't know about certain variables. But it shouldn't crash. We fixed that bug. It's getting released today. But if something's missing, that's probably why. It's because of the optimizer. So here we are. We just did all of that process again. We went to Etherscan, got the contract sources. We went through the trace. We figured out what we could. We've only interacted with the rebaser. That immediately, right at the top, should tell you that something went wrong, right? The other one, we interacted with Uniswap. We interacted with the delegator. But here, the only thing that happened is the rebaser. So I'm willing to bet that, well, message.sender is the transaction origin, so this should pass. Now, are we in the rebase window? When I hit enter without typing anything, it just repeats the previous command. So I had previously typed n, I hit enter, it's as if I typed n again. Let's look, is rebasing active? Oh, I'm gonna have to wait for the S load. Rebasing is active, so this should be fine. It is, we get to the next line. I can keep looking at these individually, or we could just wait until we get the error. Do that. I guess I could do now mod min rebase time interval sec, but we're at the mercy of, oh well, JavaScript floating point math, right? So this require statement should pass because this number is greater than or equal to this number. So if I keep stepping, we should see that. I can hit U to step out because I don't need to see the implementation of modulus. We made it past that line. There's no error. We are not too early. Are we too late? Well, we already know what now mod min rebase time is this number. Rebase window offset sec. I'm in JavaScript now. Window length sec. That's that one. I might need an S load, so I'll just step a little bit. Do this again. Get this one first. This number should be lower than this number. Appears to be the case. We're not too late. Step out of mod. Yeah, I think we're all fine. What was the code doing there? In rebase window is just three require statements. So now we finished in rebase window. That wasn't the problem. Now we're back here. Back in the rebase function. Right, we just did in rebase window. I can show you where we are. Here, I'll make this bigger so we can see it. Word wrap, sorry. If I drag this, will it still be readable for you all? Also, I don't want to take up too much time. Oops. Let me know if I'm going too slowly.
No, I think this is interesting.
Yeah, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Also learning the truffle debugger is so much better than the last time I used it.
Yeah, we have a full-time engineer, Harry Altman. He came on board about 2 years ago, and he's added so many features. Like no one uses Solidity function pointers, but if you do, you will be able to decode them.
I'm thinking now we got the basic. Maybe we should just switch to Will, who wrote a blog post about the whole thing of what the hack happened, so that everybody get more context about the hack. And that probably triggers us to ask more questions in the debugger level, like, okay, maybe let's find out that. Shall we try to switch a bit?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll just hit continue so we rush to the end. There was a revert error. It happened on line 1074. Actually, it was this line. The last rebase timestamp plus the min rebase interval was not before now. That was just this transaction. So I guess, yeah, let's turn it over for a real bug, not someone's mistaken rebase.
So you found where it is? Do you know the UTC timestamp? Like now parameter when it did it?
I could show you real quick if you want to see what those variables were. I don't know if they're still in scope. Well, now would still be in scope.
Okay. So this is roughly yesterday morning in Central European time, is it?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is this, if I go to Google now and type this in and convert to actual time, I can go do that, wait.
Yeah, that would be,
Why
well,
not?
last rebase would be about 18, 19 hours ago.
I will just do OCR manually.
Oh, I can,
No, wait.
which one do you want? Now?
I'm doing it, no problem. 159 730 730
5660.
5660. It's stupid. Google doesn't work. Wait, I have another one.
I'll get them both on screen.
No. UTC.
Here's now.
So what is this actually? I had a website that does this, which was not Google, because
I'll just paste it in the.
somebody no.
I think we're hitting the trouble with the optimizer. I don't know if this variable exists in scope. Yeah.
Unix timestamp. Okay.
Did I spell it wrong? Min rebase time interval sec. Here, I'll leave this on screen, or I can put this whole output.
It's epochconverter.com. This is good. Let's start. Timestamp to human date. It's August 13th, 8 hours 1 minute 8 m GMT.
That sounds about right.
Good.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing. I don't want to take up the whole meeting for this. Yeah, thank you for asking questions, everyone.
No, that was really cool to see. I really want to give Shuffle, install Shuffle again. I haven't used it in a while.
I'm pretty excited about our debugger.
Guys, I have to go. There's no electricity here, so my batteries. I will watch this later. Thanks for this exciting. Bye.
Bye-bye. So yeah, Will, he had a really good blog post where he analyzed a couple of things as well. So
Yeah, I can share it real quick. I dropped it in the chat, but I'll just drop it again. But I ended up writing, I was just, as YAM was going on, I was learning about it, and I thought, okay, I need to start writing this down because it's confusing and there's a lot going on and people are talking about a bunch of different stuff. So I ended up writing this, which was just in a hackmd file, and then I ended it in the blog post. But I'll share my screen. And, oh yeah, could you give me screen share, please?
Oh yeah, sorry. Do you have to pass, or I can give? Because
I think, did you make me a host?
Yeah.
I think you probably just need to make Will a host.
I can only see chat.
Here, I got. It's Will, right?
Yep. Yep. Cool.
You should have host powers.
All right. I think you should be able to see this. Anyways, yeah, I actually just thought it was just fun as I typed this up and I made like some funny aviation analogies in here that I thought were funny. Anyways, yeah, I guess I'll just show you the bug, which was, it's pretty simple actually. It's just like a precision error. This total supply is actually, it's a unit, but it's scaled to 10 to the power of 18, which makes it a pretty big unit. And so the bug is here. This is actually how it sits in the code, and it was implemented incorrectly. This is actually just a really big number. It takes whatever this unit supply number was and then multiplies it by the scaling factor, which is 10 to the power of 18. What it should have been is this, what's missing is this div right here to divide it by this base, which is, I always think of it in maker terms, which is a y, which is 10 to the 18. So it just uses that to divide it after multiplying it. And to see the difference is, yeah, how you can see the precision error is that it ended up like, if you just take leap as the initial number in its supply and you multiply it by the YAM scaling factor, and then you forget to divide, you get this huge unit right here. And it should be something like this. So that's how you've got this hyperinflating supply in a treasury that, like, just by the code logic alone couldn't be fixed because the way the proposal was set up is that they made the proposal, and I discussed that right here, is that like the thing is the community had delegated enough to meet the proposal threshold, but the way the code was written, this time lock feature and the time lock contract of 12.5 hours plus the Unix timestamp, that once the rebase happens, what was enough of a quorum to execute the proposal wasn't going forward, and then it was just impossible to execute the proposal at that point, which was just facilitated with compounds governor alpha contract. It's really simple. That's the thing. It's very. I just forgot to add that div and brought everything down.
Can you actually show the line in the GitHub? Because
yeah,
if you just put that specific line, it might not be obvious. But if you see that whole function, it's like bloody obvious.
Yeah. So
like
this is the rebase.
Yeah, everywhere else it's doing the .dbase, and only that bit it's not doing it.
Yeah.
Like 330, 332, they are doing .div, right? And only this one not doing it.
What's that?
Like other lines, like most of the calculation, like lines 330, 332, they are just doing the divide by base. But only this one, for some reason, it's been left out.
Yeah, exactly. It's so unfortunate. It's like the one thing that brought everything down. And you know, this is just simple function here.
For 2 days, would they have caught this bug?
I couldn't hear you very well. Could you repeat that, please?
I was saying, if they ran this on testnet for 2 days, would they have caught this bug? Like, 'cause that's what happened, right? It's the second rebase this happened in.
Yeah, so maybe that indicates they didn't even go to a second rebase. Was it even on testnet? I don't know.
I wonder if they even run in Ganache. Because as long as you execute, like one thing I was puzzled is like this is something like if you actually run it manually and just compare the result, that's like I understand that if the bug resides on the kind of edge cases, but this is a kind of happy path where it has to happen, right? Like
yeah.
So like if someone run it on whatever the environment, even Remix or whatever, just do the manual check, should we have been spotted?
I would say, I mean, if they did run it through the happy path, like you said, you would probably, I mean, they would just inspect the total supply and what was going in the treasury, and you would easily spot it. That's my assumption.
Yeah, and it's called after it happened, not beforehand, right?
Yeah. Well, did it happen before the first rebase or was it after? It was after the first rebase, right? And then we had what, 12 hours.
Yeah, it was like when the second rebase was coming up, they realized this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Which,
So
yeah,
that-
Well, I think the first rebase, they saw that the big hype, like the inflated supply in the treasury, right? And they're like, okay, that doesn't occur. And then that's when it kicked everything off. And there's a bug in the rebase, or the rebase function of the YAM zone.
And this is a code. So one thing I think people go off guard is like when I look at it like probably 30 minutes before I do the formal buy-in, but I didn't look at this code. I looked at a bunch of pools code, and I just realized I did a couple of diff, and I just realized, oh, that's just like a copied code. Then I just moved on. I didn't look this one. So this one is like written from scratch, this yam.pop. So this is not copy, because everybody said like this is copy and paste of the well-tested code. They just change. But is this one also copy and paste? Or it's actually written from scratch?
I don't know if that part maybe copied from Ample. I'm not sure. But like the team said, everything was a mashup, and just like you, I only reviewed the staking contracts. And when somebody asked me, "Are you gonna FOMO in?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go all in because the staking contracts they look good. The worst that can happen, and I even have that in the chat. It's like I reviewed the staking contracts. I didn't look at the rebaser."
Yeah, sorry, which file you look at? The pool file?
It's, yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah, so the ones that everybody uses to pull and get
so this one
rewards.
would be,
Yeah.
Yes.
like,
Because the worst. Yeah, if those are correct, you cannot lose your capital, right? So I figure the worst that can happen is that, YAMs go to zero, we lose some gas, and we have a few laughs. And so as long as as your capital was safe, I said, okay, I can YOLO in, no problem.
Yeah, and I think everyone else sort of did that same cursory check, right? You're like, okay, check the liquidity pools to make sure that you can stake and withdraw. And then everyone's like, okay, it's acceptable. I mean, the risks are pretty limited at that point. Just like the M should just become valueless, and that's pretty much they haven't become valueless, but significantly devalued.
Yeah. I think I remember there's another very detailed analysis from a guy, I think who's an engineer, Emilio. He was an engineer at Aave. Again, I think that was I think he was concerned because Lend was in the contract. So I saw that he was looking at the Lend pool, so.
Oh yeah, you posted the Twitter tweet thread about that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the things that he discussed, if I remember correctly, was that the Lend. So all of these pools are ownable, but the owner actually is it's like the reward distribution. Only the governor, I think if I understand it correctly, only the governor alpha can change this address, which can change the reward distribution as far as I understand. So the owner I believe this just for example, the Lend liquidity pool is the time lock, and the owner of that is the governor alpha, I think. Right. Remember that correct? Does that sound right? I was reading that last night when I saw it in the invite. And I'll go to the time lock. Yeah, the time lock is, I was taking a look at this morning. It's pretty, I'd say it's pretty standard, right? The way that, something I thought was interesting was like they don't use modifiers, and I think they use like these require statements for like this. I thought this was interesting. Require message to equal to this.
So that it comes from the contract itself. So this would be like Maker's version of DS pause time lock.
Yeah.
This is the governance delay. Yeah.
Is this copy and paste or is this written from scratch?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that this all came from Compound.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate is like if they had a fast line, if they could have a comment. Oh, actually there is. Yeah, Compound original file came from Compound Finance.
Yeah.
Original audit. Interesting. So it would be interesting.
That is actually very good.
Yeah.
Because you look at the first comment and they actually put in the audit, what the audit discovered, and then what changes they made. Changes made by YAM after the audit, formatting, naming, and even 256. I hadn't noticed that, so I think that's actually pretty great.
Then can you go back to the yam.sol? I just want to see if there's any sort of comment on that file. So that this one has nothing.
It might be something.
Yeah, there's no comment about where it came from. So this one was like, I guess, written from scratch, maybe.
There's a couple of contracts in here. Yeah, there's no comments in here. Let's see. Actually, we can look at maybe if there's anything that changed through here. Yeah, it looks like the Compound contracts they used. They commented what they changed. That's cool. I didn't notice that before.
Oh, is it inheriting from this?
No, this isn't. This is just, I checked Governor Alpha because they did the same in the time lock contract. So I thought they would probably do the same in YAM Governor Alpha, which they did.
One thing I was looking to, so now I'm kind of interested, like, they're talking about YAM V2, right? And they say they give more rewards to the people who delegated. And I did delegate, but when I actually delegated, they say like, oh, thank you for delegating zero. Really? Yeah.
So where in the code is the delegate? Because I
think it's governance.
I've never looked at this. I haven't even thought.
Yeah, and where I look at it, I wasn't quite sure how they how do you put it back after the time lock? That wasn't.
Where's delegate at? Is that in...
I think governance. Yeah, YAM governance.
Yeah, okay.
And the underscore delegate? Here, it's just moving line 150. So YAM balances it.
Sorry.
A delegate key. I thought somewhere when I look at my balance on the Etherscan, it was 0. So I wasn't sure whether I don't have any YAM because I delegated, or is it because my YAM holding was so low? Like when I put it, it was 0.3 YAM. It wasn't even 1. So are they neglecting like more than one voting right? Like if in normal voting rights on Compound or something, if you have less than one comp, do you still have a voting rights? Or it's just cut out?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
On the EVM, it's just, you know, 1 is really 1 times 10 to the 18 or whatever. So I assume that it's just a UI problem that you saw.
Yeah. But I think when I look into my thing, I think I can show what I try to do later on, like after we go through this. So like I was now wondering, like, you know, when they go to the V2, do I actually get something? Still like, you know, greedy mindset.
Yeah.
And another thing I was in mind is like, so there's a guy, Lefke, I don't know how to pronounce it. He wrote a very long blog post basically criticizing that, like, you know, or if this was just an experiment, they should have some escape hatch or they should have some limit. And that came from the lessons learned from the DAO, that he was part of the DAO member. He had to deal with lots of, you know, abusive things, like abuse from the people who lost the money. So that makes sense. But my question is this kind of rebase dynamic supply stuff, was it actually even possible to put some restriction? Because you could just put the initial limit on the deposit to farm, but now supply is going like up and down, go like crazy, right? And it's all depends on how much, because yeah, the total value could fluctuate depending on how much people value that YAM token, right? So even though you can protect, so like, that's the same thing as Mariano said, like, you know, you look into the staking contract, as long as staking is fine, that's okay. If it's experiment, only thing they could have done is set the limit on how much one address can stake, right? But the problem that had is all about the price on the YAM itself. So I don't know whether adding restriction made any like benefit. Everybody has any opinion? Like, I don't know if adding anything add any value just because it's experiment.
To be fair, all of the rebasing is what confused me the most. I have some friends that are big Ample fans. I'm not personally. I did like the idea here because it was, you know, a meme coin, right? And the more you can throw at it, the better. So they said it's like, you know, it's like synthetics mixed with compound, mixed with Ample, mixed with a maker, mixed with this and that. And, you know, I like that it was so weird and different. But that was the part that, like I said, I looked at it the least. I still, for example, I don't think I even understand or try to read why, for example, during the rebasing, you could only have your YAMs in the Uniswap pool, you know, the eternal lens. Like that one was safe or was supposed to be safe from the supply changes, but not any other. And even now they say that pool that you should take out your YAMs in between rebases, so before a rebase. So if anybody knows anything about that, I'm all ears.
Yeah, I'm not sure because it's like rebasing it doesn't really mean anything at a technical level. Like, right, there's like the real supply values and there's just a displayed supply value which modulates in response to this external market rate. So I don't get it beyond that. Like, yeah, like you said, I don't really understand the economic arguments that Ampleforth is making of why that's valuable.
On the V2, did they say they do not rebase anymore?
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna be taking it out.
Yeah. So like once they take out Ample factor, there's still innovation there.
But is it YAM2 token, just this intermediary token? And then they move it to YAM3, which actually, does that reintroduce the rebasing? I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So.
Or not.
What does rebasing as, to be honest? Maybe that could go into another debate. Is it because by doing the rebase and this up supply, there's some excess, and the fact that you can put into carb and you can do farming, is this the part which are the novelty?
I remember I wasn't paying attention to the first rebase, and I remember looking at the yams that I had, and at one point they were like, it just increased a bunch, and this just alludes to how much I didn't really understand rebase, and I was like, how do I have this this much more yams? I was like, is something wrong?
Yeah.
Does anyone have, like, does anyone who has a better grasp of the rebase want to share screen, walk through it, or just like give us a summary, just the highlights?
It seems like the rebase is just because it's cool. Like I can't. It keeps the value at $1 eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we take rebase, is it still interesting enough? But one of the thing I noticed as a side effect is like it was not just YAM which benefited. It was all other protocol which was used to yield again, like farm gains, right? Like I saw like lots of like comp and synthetic and everywhere where now people wants to get these ones. And I think I was talking to my friend, and when I try to select anything to farm, I didn't know which one to farm because I didn't have any of them, and I only had the east. So like, okay, let's just change it to west, because if I just change to west, then there's no, like volatility or anything. But when I talked to my friend, he said what you calculate is like because it's split among the evenly, the lower volume it is, you get more YAM token. Hence, it was designed to increase, to buy more of the smaller pool. So I think at that time, synthetic was relatively small.
I think synthetics and comp was probably one of the best ones to go in. Wrapped ether was one of the ones with least amount of yield, just because everybody has ether. Yiffy or waifu as well, because they're all degens. So every waifu holder, they YOLO'd into that. So yeah, comp was one of the best ones to farm. That's why the price also went up so much, because people started buying comp because they couldn't get so many yams. And then when everything started falling down, the price of comp crashed, and a lot of people ended up with this huge comp position that they didn't mean to be in. Same with Maker, right? But not to that extent, because the Maker one wasn't giving that much money, because a lot of people did go in. In fact, we, in the smart contracts team, we were looking at the amount of MKR. So I suggested that the team use IOU tokens from Maker governance instead of actual MKR, because that would have protected the system even more. So people who vote in MKR governance, they receive, so that they lock up MKR and they get an IOU token. If they had used the IOU token instead of the Maker token, it would have made the system more secure.
What if
like the Maker system?
Yeah, maybe that'd be something to sort of lobby for in D3 or D2.
Yeah. But on the other hand, if they put something that say that the pool with that amount of governing MKR can vote on things, then after a few hours, the MKR pool in YAM was probably the second largest whale. Like, it flipped A16C's MKR position. It was the second largest MKR holder. So imagine governance being run by the YAM community.
So they could actually have used this technique to take over the governance.
Not in this case, because the staking contract, it doesn't have a function to interact with maker governance.
Right.
So but you could certainly add it.
Yeah. So like I was thinking like, what I think some aspect is very interesting. So one thing I thought is like this would be very good for I was in a personal token meetup yesterday, and personal token issued by Tri-Roll, there are a bunch of like Parsons token. Each volume is very small, and there's someone like them. If they create a consortium, that like if you farm any of our members, I'll give you some tokens. Then like I call it PAM because personal YAM. So and that would unite these personal token holders to create a collective currency which farm, and the incentive is like you help smaller ones to get as big as everybody else, because that kind of built in like if it's smaller, it has an incentive to farm the smaller personal token so that as to get bigger, but as a collective it get bigger or something. So some sort of incentive I'm wondering maybe we can learn from the YAM experience, but I'm still not quite sure that rebasing aspect is something we can learn. Yeah. It's 5 minutes left. People who haven't spoken up much, are there any questions or some observation, or you just want to be quiet, or you can, if you are shy, you can just put some comments on the chat section. All good? Okay.
In that case, I'll just say that what's his name? The guy who just left? Is it Nicholas? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just posted that he was using the develop branch of Truffle's debugger.
Okay.
The master has a,
Release version has a fatal bug. Yeah.
Well, it looks nice. Like I haven't used that in a long time, so I wasn't up to date with what was going on with that.
Yeah, I used a couple of times for my own project. Then like always like including the entire contracts was a bit tricky in the development environment. But like for something like it's already deployed, debugging the deployed version is quite handy. That like you don't have to flatten file all by yourself. You just take it from EtherScan. So that I thought that would be quite good. Cool. Any other comments, observation, or any final questions?
Just thanks for the meetup. This was really cool. I mean, I was a few minutes late, but still caught most of it. So hope to see some more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, it's good. Like you can meet from new people. That's good. So like I think 2 people hasn't turned up. It's Igor and the Tom. But like I'm gonna finalize probably a couple hours later. But if by any chance I haven't marked you in, just like ping me so like I'll check you in. And after that, please make sure to withdraw or just put some tip. Yeah, that's it. And I'll try to do more, like try to have like regularly about different topic. And usually it would be more fun if we invite people, some expert on that field, and we ask a bunch of questions. But like I think this one is also good. Like it's kind of very similar to what I used to do in London. So I had a thing called London Ethereum Code Up, and it was just like this, like coders talking about code. So if you want to organize your own, like feel free to let me know, and yeah, so we can organize more of this kind of stuff. And I think it's good, like rather than having like massive 50 people, but it's better to have like 5-10 people and they have actually fun conversation. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So hopefully see you.
Thanks for the invite.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.